Notorious Nottingham crime and gang boss Colin Gunn was described by media as a self-styled gangster that epitomised the worst of the UK chav culture. Collin is said to have won a legal battle to officially be referred to as Mr. Gunn while he is serving a life sentence for M at HMP Whitemoor. Now, Colin Gunn, who grew up in the Eastwood area of Nottingham, he, along with his brother David Gunn, who is also a career criminal, found themselves on police radar from the age of roughly 13 to 14 years old. The two brothers were considered tough and hard as nails. It was also known from the very moment that they played Sunday League football for the Scots Grey pub in Bulwell. If the brothers were not playing football, then they were storming corner shops and pubs and taxing money from business owners. According to police, Colin Gunn had a foolproof system. Once the Gunn brothers had stormed the shop or the pub, they would ask to see the gaffer. Colin would then point out that their security was not very good, and for £100 a week, he would make sure that the business was safe from other gangs and criminals. Initially, business owners would laugh it off, laugh the scenario as nothing more than a prank. The same night, the business would then be ransacked, stock taken, or the premises shot up with ammo. The Gunn brothers were active in areas like Bulwell and Arnold. Up until this point, Colin and David dealt with taxing and drug crime. However, in August 2003, Nottingham would turn upside down and Colin would establish himself as an orchestrator in a lot of murders. 22-year-old Marvin Bradshaw and Colin's brother Jamie Collin were best friends. The two were known to visit a few local pubs, the Potters, the Scots Grey and the Lime Kiln. Now, while taking a detour and drinking late into the night at Kershaw Drive pub, Marvin and Jamie were caught on CCTV, leaving the pub at 3:45 a.m. with two others. Now, Marvin was an innocent man who earned a living as a shop fitter. Now, because he was driving, he had not drunk at all, so he was completely sober. Now, he was the designated driver. Marvin, Jamie and two other men walked to the car park before getting into Marvin's car. Once safely in the car, Marvin started to slowly pull out of the car park. Then, appearing in the glare of the headlights, a trigger man appeared, raised his arm, and in his hand was a GUN. The trig man then pressed the trig, and casings hit the car. Marvin Bradshaw was shot. Now, Jamie, who was in the back of the car, immediately held his friend and begged him to stay awake. He held Marvin in his arms until Marvin was declared dead. Now, through the M investigation, police declared Marvin as an innocent casualty in some gangland feud and says that the gunman's likely target was Jamie Gunn. The idea was when you can't get the boss, being Colin Gunn, you get those who he would love and cherish, that being his family. Now, just over a year later, Jamie Gunn himself would be declared dead after deteriorating health and also him suffering from a very real drinking problem. Now, Colin Gunn wanted retribution. He wanted revenge at the man who was jailed for striking Marvin with ammo, and that was Michael O'Brien, who was also known as Jay and JJ. Now, he was a nasty man, and if he couldn't get Michael, Colin would make do with his family. In court, Michael O'Brien was said to have blurted out, "I'm not bothered. I'm a bad boy. I don't care about being jailed." That was after he was sentenced to life in jail with a minimum term of 24 years. In the aftermath of Michael's sentence, Colin tried to use his connections to find people on the inside who would claim Michael. It did prove difficult. Michael was a problem, so if he wasn't in seg, he would be with his mates from St. Anne's protected. A week later, Michael O'Brien had landed in HMP Whitemoor. Colin Gunn put a plan into action. He had learned the address of Michael O'Brien's mum, Joan Stirland. Now, sadly, Joan and husband, John Stirland, knew that they could be targets due to Michael's M conviction and his crazy outbursts in court. On September 14th, 2003, just a week after Michael was arrested, an unknown person drove to the Stirland's home in Carlton and used a GUN and bust every single window at the house while the family sat down to watch TV. Police were called and Joan and John were offered witness protection. However, the husband and wife declined the offer, afraid that they would be isolated from friends and family. However, it soon appeared that this would not be a one-time incident, so the next day, Joan and John had left the city. They bounced from Goal and then relocated to Trustthorpe. Now, Joan and John had no idea that David Gunn owned a caravan just 12 miles from Jones's bungalow. The Gunn brothers had put money on Joan and John's head requesting information. The Gunn brothers were so notorious that 2 BT workers gave Colin Gunn Joan's new address. Now, Colin Gunn also had active officers on his payroll, and they were paid roughly £2,000 a week. That included PC Charles Fletcher, who would often give Colin sensitive information on M's and also Dr busts. Now, Colin put in the order to K, Joan and John in David's caravan in Kingfisher Caravan Park in Goldmouse. The plan was simple. Joan and John would be struck with ammo, executed, just like Marvin was. And on August 8, 2004, Joan had contacted the police to say that they believed they had seen someone standing outside their bungalow the evening before. The information was passed on to Lincolnshire police via fax, but the risk assessment was not done correctly, and by 9:30 a.m, Joan and John were both struck with ammo via a Beretta, and they were declared dead. Colin Gunn was jailed for life at Nottingham Crown Court for conspiracy to Joan and John Stirland as revenge for their son Michael O'Brien, Emming, Marvin. Now, Colin was told that he would serve a minimum sentence of 36 years. In jail, Colin has been classified as an exceptional risk, who is still respected in the criminal world, and that was personified when intel came in to suggest that Colin had sourced a helicopter and GUNs in order to escape his confinement. The Gunn brothers were extremely dangerous, and they were willing to kill anyone in order to get their revenge. Stay safe.